Hello, and welcome back to another Midnight Showing. As always, I'm Kelly, and 2015 is over! Yep, 2015 is over, and by God was this a great year for cinema. I have to say, some of the best films I've ever seen came out this year, as well as some of the worst, but that's for the next list. And yes, as per tradition of all YouTubers out there, I'm going to do my own personal picks for the top 10 best of the year. But before we get started, let's have some honorable mentions, shall we? Honorable mentions. Spy. First off, Spy, which is by far probably the best comedy I've seen this year, and I really thought this was going to suck. A kind of a deconstruction of the spy genre in the same vein as something from the Cornello trilogy, but maybe done a little bit more raunchy. The Gift was also another wonderful surprise this year, being that it was very, very intense, gripping, and had a great story with it. I just felt that even though it was really the best Nathan Bates has probably ever put out, I think that the movie probably got outshined in a few departments. The Martian. Most people put this as their number one, and I can understand why. I just personally can't get over some of its more logic problems, which I go into more detail inside of my review if you want to check out any of these. Kingsman. Kingsman was another welcome surprise after that piece of shit 50 Shades. Honestly, it had been 2 months of pretty shitty movies, and then this gem just came out of nowhere. Hence why my little brother gave me the poster, because he knows I loved it so much. Thank him for that. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Wow, did I just lose all of my subscribers by not putting this on the actual list and only giving it an honorable mention? I'm sorry, I went to this movie without nostalgia goggles on. Ant-Man. Yet another movie I thought was really going to suck, but that was more my personal taste for the character. I hate Hank Pym with a fucking passion, so to actually see a movie that wasn't about Hank Pym was definitely a plus and an enjoyable ride. Now that we're done with the honorable mentions, let's move on to the actual list. Number 10. The Last Naruto The Movie. Oh yeah, I just put an anime on here. What? Now I can already see what people are going to say about this decision. But wait, didn't that movie come out in October of 2014? Not in America. It was released in mid-February and didn't get a DVD release until the next October. But didn't you yourself actually say there was a lot of problems with that movie in your review? Thank you for watching my review. Speaking of which, if you want to see the reviews for any of the movies inside of this list, they will be inside of the description below. But wait, it's Naruto. That can't be the best. And that would be where you were wrong. And besides, if you have a problem with this list, make your own. Now, I've put Naruto on this list because, as an epilogue for the series, I felt that it was a masterful stroke in the form of storytelling and character expansion. Yes, the movie is more about Hinata than it is Naruto, but that's hardly a complaint when the movie is good, right? The animation is brilliant. The choreography is beyond stupendous. Yes, some of the fight scenes drag on, but by God was it such an entertaining watch. I bought it the second that I could. And in all honesty, this is my fanboy movie right now. It was clearly the best choice because of the effect it had on me, which is all the more reason why it goes on my list. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some ninja to hunt. Number 9. Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. And before someone says that I'm being hypocritical by putting this on the list and not Star Wars, let me just say that if this hadn't happened this year, Star Wars probably would have taken its place. Avengers 2 is another one that you have to take your nostalgia goggles off and actually go see for what it is. And what is it? A very entertaining, very funny, a thrill ride that frankly came from one of the best directors out there. And it may have that, in fact, turned him off of directing entirely. I hope that's not the case, but I do appreciate the blood, sweat, and tears that went into this movie. And I can honestly say that everyone who's bitched about it have been bitching about nitpicks more than anything else. Funny that didn't stop their enjoyment of The Winter Soldier. Or Star Wars. Okay, I'm done pissing you guys off. Let's move on to number 8. Number 8. It Follows. Now, this year has been an actual horrible year for horror. with everything else being either a dishonorable mention on my worst list or on my most disappointing list, this was the gem that basically saved horror this year. I have a claw now. It Follows, although not technically scary, is definitely a masterclass on how to create anxiety and tension inside of your movie, and is clearly one of the best films to come out in the horror genre in recent memory. All you know is that a guy is following them. You're always having to scan the crowd to try to find this thing, and it is admittedly intense, which is exactly what it wants to be, which is why it's on this list. Number 7. The Hateful Eight. Oh yeah, that's right. We got ourselves a Quentin Tarantino film. Although in my opinion not his best film, definitely a callback to form, being mostly a dialogue piece and leaving the action and shocking moments to basically the last third. I postponed this list to see this movie, and it was worth it. Number 6. Mission Impossible 5. Rogue Nation. Now, I've said many times throughout this year that this is a year of spy flicks between Kingsman, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Spectre, Mission Impossible, Spy, all of which were really good and great films. But if there was one that was definitely better than the others, it was Mission Impossible 5. Action-packed, well thought out, very well written, even better acted. By God, the movie opens up with Tom Cruise strapped himself to the side of a fucking plane as it takes off. And he did multiple takes of that! To say this film was amazing is an understatement, and by God, it deserves a place on this list. Number 5. Ex Machina. Now, unfortunately, I never got a chance to see this one in theaters and do a proper review of it. But needless to say, it was so good, I broke my rule of only doing reviewed movies. There is another one on another list, but we'll get to that when it comes. What is intelligence? What are the roles of males and females? How do you tell the difference? Especially when all that really distinguishes them is biology. How do you determine if something is alive? How do you know if it's not manipulating you? And how do you know if the whole situation is in the manipulation of itself? Yes, it's a little pretentious, and I will admit that it's far from the most invigorating film about AI I've ever seen. But by God, this movie was disturbing and thought-provoking and shocking, and I really am just doing a review of it at this point, so go see it, go buy it. Number 4. Spotlight. Spotlight is an Oscar bait movie about basically the Catholic Church sex scandal from the early 2000s. This movie is very basically shot. The acting, although amazing, is very subdued from everybody, trying to do as realistic performances as possible, where they show that the tension in the movie comes from not the fact that they are putting these facts together, but the fact they have to sit on these facts and wait to give the full picture to everybody. It was nice to see all of these actors doing a great job inside this, especially Rachel McAdams, who I really haven't seen in anything all that good ever. I haven't seen her whole discography, so if you have a good performance of hers, leave it in the comments below. And I can honestly say that this movie was worth the full price. I'm going to buy it the second it comes out. It's going to go right next to Birdman and The Imitation Game. Number 3. Mad Max Fury Road. Weird ass guitar guy. That's all I have to say. Weird ass guitar guy. Okay, I'll say a little bit more. This movie is a marvel of practical effects, going back to why we like these movies in the first place. It's intense, it's action-packed. Hell, Charlize Theron as Furiosa is probably the best female lead I've ever seen in a movie since fucking Aliens. I mean, by God. And this movie deserves a place on everybody's shelf. So, you know what? Watch my review and go buy it. Number 2. Sicario. How do you stop that which is too evil to stop? Well, you don't. Sicario is a very harsh look into the world of drugs and law enforcement, and by God, does it not pull its punches. The whole movie is just basically a journey down the pits of hell that reality can really give us. It shows quite clearly that even our laws, as just as they are flawed and can't fix the problem. Showing what it's like to be both the person who believes in the system, the person who actively subverts the system to do what he knows is right, and the person who will just do anything as long as you pay him. Well, that there's making it of a great film now, isn't it? Now, before I state my number one, I just want to put out there that my list is completely subjective. If you don't agree with it, fine. Tell me what you thought about your favorite films in the comments below. Maybe we'll get some healthy discussion going. But for me, there is only one story this year that truly moved me, that changed me, that definitely gave me insight into a world that I thought I really understood but didn't. And that movie, by God, was beautiful. Number one. Inside Out. Yeah, that's right. I just put a kid's film as number one. But you know what? This isn't just a kid's film. This is the perfect example of a family film. Something that you could show to anybody and everybody would love it. Is it the best movie that Pixar's ever put out? Probably not. Is it probably the best movie they've put out in the recent 10 years of their existence? Absolutely. This movie is the benchmark of animation at this point, or at least American animation. It's funny, it's invigorating, it's thought-provoking, it hits every single emotional tone it was trying to go for, and by God, you will cry for Bing Bong. This movie didn't make me outright cry, but it made me tear up, which is a hell of an accomplishment. I only have ever cried at one point in one movie, and if you're wondering, it's in Summer Wars near the end. But this movie got me to tear up. This movie got me, the cold-hearted bastard, to tear up. That's why this movie is number one. That's why this movie has been my number one since I watched it back in July. Or at least I hope it was July and I didn't make up a date. If I did, I'll put it down here. And that was my top 10 best movies of the year list. Did you like my list? Seeing as Star Wars wasn't on it, probably not. What were the best movies that you saw this year? Tell me what you thought in the comments below and maybe we'll get some healthy discussion going. And as always, if you want to see more, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you want to check out some of my more recent videos, I'll have those linked right down here. If you want to see any of the reviews I did of any of the films mentioned inside this video, I will have those linked in the description below. And be sure to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitch. And as always, I will see you all next time. Hey guys, I just wanted to add a little something extra here at the end. Thanks for watching the video. I do have a couple more coming out. I have my worst movies of the year list, I have my most disappointing movies of the year list, and my most surprising. Just so you know, I probably won't have another review out until about the second week of January, mostly just because I've got school starting again, and there's about 8 movies coming out in the next 2 weeks, and I don't have time to see much of any of them. I apologize for that. I hope that these lists will entertain you, and hope that you'll share them with your friends. Alright? Take care.